there is no time, there's no place like right now. So we're going to get back into it, to the business of gaming. What is games really? Just a really deep philosophical question that goes back to the dice games that we can definitely ponder upon in a lot of ways, which we'll try to explore through our series of videos that relate to gaming through times, and just exploring the concepts of chance, probabilities, and how these effects play out in the real world and in the world that we see now here. I started late, early, between the times of digital and analog, a perfect composition, a perfect understanding, perfect time, really. But I'm sure all of you don't really care about that. All you really care about is something else. And I'm not hearing the sound, no matter what. We're going to start from there. It started in 83. Well, what was that time? You'd say it was a magical number, I'd say. The social and cultural phenomenon of digitalization was just emerging. What was there is just nothing compared to what we have now. Let's take a look at some of the key awesome video gaming of the era of 1983. Look at these masterpieces that's behind me. Look at, one could argue that at that time, the innocence of gaming engineering was all just about the code and all the 8 to 16 beats of color, if that was even the case in some of the platforms. I still remember the days that I was playing Atari when I was a kid. And just with 3, 4, 6 colors, or how many colors were there? Maybe 8 colors at maximum. Thinking, wow, this was amazing. I'm permanent playing ping pong and Tetris and a bunch of other ones, racing cars. I still remember the joysticks from the old Ataris, the little button that you had to press to fire on the side, not even, or was on top, I don't really recall. It was a wonderful experience. But remember, anyways, coming back to the digital era of 1983, I think we're going to continue to explore the never-ending process of generational event that we have all experienced and none of us really still grasping. And it's the only really time, and only ever time, that we call a retro, and everything else that we're going to move forward is going to be digital. I wonder what's going to be beyond digital. Even now, occasional thought that goes through deep so far that I wonder, is there a mental or human mind that will actually be able to comprehend what's beyond that? Or is it all just going to be crystallized and no more digital, just holographic? Everything is just one piece of the brain, and that basically reflects everything back to itself. That could be something that we can go to, but I'm not sure if it's even feasible to grasp all of this. It's almost like asking for going to a higher dimension, but why? What is the point, really? What is the point if we're still stuck in the 3D, right? So let's go back to the 3D. Yes, the year 1983, we got these funky 2D, I'm almost certain said the 3D, and in that era of gaming, an era of evolution of digitalization that was fully emerging, and I can't really imagine what it was like living back then, but I do remember the things that were kind of passed down to me as I was a kid, and the generational process that followed. Yes, the early millennials versus late millennials, a completely different type of beasts, and then we're going to explore that even further. There's so much to talk about in this wonderful conversation. I hope I am recording, for fuck's sake. Well, let's moving on. Anyhow, so we have these rudimentary applications of establishment of Atari and a bunch of other Sony enterprises, creating the foundation blocks, many other generational cultural phenomena in the gaming industry. I wonder if cryptocurrency is just like this in the gaming of 1983, what we have is a Bitcoin, a bit like just a Atari of its era, which is waiting to die at one point, right? And so how long are we going to have to wait until it actually gets cracked by some quantum computing, and then what? Well, that all goes down to zero finally. End of that era. Everything, remember, dies one way or another. Nothing is eternal. Of course, we're going to maybe transform it into some other digital content, and it will be, oh, well, you have a Bitcoin now, you're going to be something else. But that doesn't matter, because the era will end. This all eras end eventually. And I tell you this much, and it's going to happen. Anyhow, moving on. Yeah, so digitalization is happening, right? So in the A3, we have the Terminator. Terminator was basically, so it's kind of like a a perfect execution of the fears, of the concerns. Even there's a fun fact. I believe the James Cameron said there was a dream of his of the Terminator or some form of Terminator, and he wanted to talk about it in some ways, or basically make a movie about it, or whatever it was. But we all know the consequences. So it's time travel and the sci-fi of AI taking over and nuking us to oblivion. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but if it will, well, say Yakumboyas today. But it's besides, we're already living in a Skynet era. I think, like, I'm sure you don't have to repeat the ChatGPTs and all that nonsense. But regardless of that, we're going to continue to explore these fundamental, rudimental experiences of gaming and how they're culturally affecting us, evolutionary perspective, the game theories moving forward, right? So we have these generations that were raising up when they were kids on these basic Ataris, 2D scrollers. And as the time moved on in the 90s, that was the really beginning of gaming becoming much more a serious industry. And especially in the late, let's say mid-late 90s, I believe we basically had a massive renaissance of the gaming industry in general. At that point, the computer graphics and personal computers became a thing and a massive well. And I can also argue that finally, in a lot of ways, we have the fall of Soviet Union, thanks God, and the communism was one way the outside of that realm, and the capitalism was moving forward, the globalization was going forward, everything was booming in that regard, the growth, prosperity, everything was rising up, especially in China, Asia sector, the moving industries, the video graphics, and everything was shipping just beautifully. And it's important to come back to that element of, back of the 80s and how we still had the CDs in 2000s. And I really think, and then we had eventually the DVDs, right? And then we talk about VHS. Digitalization really didn't occur until I think in a lot of ways, it's which would be the perfect example of digitalization that we can argue that was the peak. I think it was almost can argue is when we had P2P, BitTorrents and the like. It was basically digitalization on the maximum level. Where we had the iPods, we had finally cracked the code and started to stash all the music we can think of and hack it, crack it, and distribute it to everyone who has the freaking internet. I think it was a glorious thing. And then what happened afterwards, right? The freedom of openness and society, well, it got shut down, but the people who were making too much money easily on their music, and they were basically suffering because of that, and it's too bad. And they had the right to defend whatever was their rise. And of course, it was not really a beautiful picture, but regardless, we talk about gaming. And then, of course, music is going to be part of that in a lot of ways. But, and in the end, all monopolies should eventually collapse. All the monopolies should eventually die one way or another. Decentralization of those industries is an eventual end of all of it. Just look at the Internet Explorer, right? Monopoly of Internet Explorer, and look at now we have a lot of options, more options than ever before. And once the Google Chrome will eventually undergo another procedural breakout of the monopoly of Google, we might see another rise of browsing that's much better than before, So again, how does that all connect to the gaming? Well, because the gaming is actually pushing in a lot of industries forward in terms of pushing the graphics, fidelity, realism. At the end of the day, we're not even beginning to talk about porn, right? How much of that has been progressing in a lot of ways, especially being pushed by a lot of things, regardless. So even I can argue that there's much to be said, and we're not even talking about the modern gaming right now. So we come back again to the 1980s. So these people who are cool and cultured, who had personal computers, among other ones that did not have personal computers, they had been exposed to moments of time, exposed to elements of technological, cultural phenomena that has not yet been fully understood yet. And when the internet became a thing in the late 90s, those who were privileged to have it in personal computer were exposed to concept of avatars, digital contents, digital personas. The internet was a wild, wild west back then. It was true form. In fact, it was the only form of internet we've ever known that doesn't exist anymore. In fact, I could argue X is basically a slightly better version or worse version of the actual original internet. If you actually went to the forums, the chat rooms of the back in the day of internet, it was basically effectively the freest language speaking, opinionated platform in the world. I still remember the days of Diablo 2 when there was so much shit talking going on, and people were talking about everything there's to think about. In fact, to this day, I can argue that in a lot of ways, non-AAA gaming chat rooms are the most free platforms on the world, because there people, gamers, express their own opinions without having the massive corporate bonanza looking over every single word you say. And if you do say something mean or nice, they fuck you, we gotta be ban you for the rest of your life, because God forbid you have an opinion about some shitty people. So that's how it works nowadays. It's okay. They all eventually also will die out due to these installations. One or the competitors will come up with a better platform. So it's just a matter of time. Thank you, capitalism, for that, by the way. At the end of the day, there's a one word, woke regarding that nonsense. Anyhow, I'm not going to go into that just yet. Again, coming back, we see how we had to go back in the 90s and early 2000s, how these seemingly obscure gaming studios basically catching on and merging together and creating monoliths that we know nowadays. And now actually how conveniently Microsoft releasing the Xbox and buying a lot of IPs, and basically Activision and Blizzard, and not really necessarily true, but I'm getting it. But all of these IPs slowly becoming more and more corporate, because you got to start appealing to a lot more people, and then they would like to admit. And regardless of all of this, we got to carry on. We got to keep on pushing forward. And I'm so glad right now. I mean, we're going to continue to talk about this generational process of what was happening to the teenagers in the early 2000s and late 2000s, and what they're going through right now. And it's a psychological change that they have versus what I've had, and many other ones who basically managed to somehow bypass it or are still in it or whatever it is. Regardless, the life and cultural change that has an effect on the masculine energy is dramatic, because as you can see how the female energy is basically affecting the rest of the world. And we could talk about this again in further conversation. I have a lot of things to say, guys, but that doesn't really matter. What we want to try to discuss is continuing to back generational technological progress of this millennial age, because we cannot dismiss it, because it's the only time we're ever going to be in the concept of digitalization, non-digitalization, analog era for the rest of life. It's almost like you can say horses and cars or planes and boats and all that stuff. Yes, we've gotten things faster, but it wasn't the cultural change. It's just the concept of travel. The concept of internet digitalization is completely changing the entire concept of psyche of humanity. What's down the pipe, especially with artificial intelligence, is even further, even crazier. Forget about identity and sexuality. You're going to be something completely different. You will not be able to identify whoever the heck you are, or even say who your gender is, because you no longer have a freaking physical body. And then what? You're no longer born a male, female. You're just basically a mind stuck in some digital copy of a humanoid. And then what? Who are you truly? Are you male, female? Who you prefer to be? Fuck. That is the future we're going to. And that's not even the scariest part. That is just basically cherry on a cake, obviously, but that's even nothing to really be worried about, to be fair. I'm just really concerned about these generational concepts that are going to be progressing into alpha generation and beta generations and all that stuff, because they're the recipients of the nonsense that we basically bestowed upon them, because they see into us and what we're doing, and especially the morons who in the Evoke department and DEI nonsense. But anyways, continuing with that concept, we are going to explore the other cultural phenomena of the cultures itself. I mean, how many of here's another point I'd like to point out, that how many cultures are actually playing video games en masse, or which ones they do and they don't, and see how much of their IQ and evolutionary concept applies to their cultural evolution. What is it about the video gaming and the actual cultural phenomenon of passive casual time or leisure that basically increases the IQ and creativity, while the rest of the population can still be stuck in the Middle Ages, somehow freaking going nowhere, or just basically dependent on a population that continues to pursue leisure and creative activities? What is the point of these two cultures? I wonder. There's a lot to explore in there on kind of like conservative versus progressive kind of principles, right? But so much of the progressives nowadays have turned into a regressive nation. Cultures, I'm sorry, whatever the heck they are. Whatever they are, they used to be progressive, not no more. Fuck, man. They're just a bunch of NPCs, and NPCs who are, by the way, out from the freaking video gaming, and I wonder why there was a cultural phenomenon of that. It translated into the people that we all know who are like and behave like one. Wonder what it is. Who is a common thing? Yeah, mind virus, after all, is real, and it can be proceeded through your celebrities and influence that you still follow nicely. Regardless of that point, we're going to continue and finish this conversation as quick as we can, because I'm running out of time, and this is DrDisarray. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe. Yes. Whatever. Listen to good music, enjoy the show, and until the next time, we're gonna be with deep dive in retro epic empire. I don't know what the heck it is. Whatever it is, we're gonna figure this out. I have nothing. I have to take a look it up. What it said. Deep retro epic. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this rant. That was pretty cool. I liked it too. I don't know how long it was, but anyways, do I still have time? I still have time. Oh, Meg. Yeah, I don't know. My clock is off. Okay, never mind. We're moving forward. Okay. So within the 90s, 2000s, so now we can do like psychological concepts. What was going on in the principle of humanity in that time? What was giving rise to the progress and evolution? What was the notion of 2008 and 9? What was going on in that element? What was happening? What was happening is basically, if you look back and you think back, what was the point of elemental change, where basically something happened that somehow the politics became a cultural phenomenon, which is known as CO2 climate change by beautiful Al Gore. Yes, that guy who has a house next to the ocean by the beach. Yes, that guy who got so big that he probably might as well be his own moon at this point, right? I don't know. I haven't seen him in a while because he probably should shut the fuck up. Right? That's not the point, right? But the bullshit he's been spewing out is basically the brainwashing of the education system. Because I bet if you did not graduate or would still graduate before the Al Gore nonsense, then you probably had to watch that shit for multiple times. You get educated by pseudoscience, no actual backtracking, just science and nonsense about some CO2. And oh my God, the world is going to end by 2020. Oh shit, it's 2024. The sea level is still not rising. But what do we see? What do we hear? Some technological progress that actually making fuel efficiency is actually making global warming of water is much harder. And therefore, we're going to have more tornadoes because of that. Yes, let's not talk about that. But we should focus about climate change. Well, because, the climate change is changing, so we're going to have to spend a lot of money. But at the same time, what it has created, and it's interesting phenomena, it's called the mind virus, right? So what it does is basically gives the right to our teacher to basically spew nonsense, which is not scientifically based by anything, that are the politically politically manipulated, promoted, sponsored, whoever is interested in that nonsense of climate change, because basically servitude until the climate change, because you cannot fly, plane, drive, anything. Oh, thanks God for electric cars. You cannot spew that sound. Oh, electric cars are clean. Not exactly clean, but we'll get there. And we just need to be more nuclear power plants, thorium reactors, which would be nice choices. Other possible advances in technology of nuclear. But no, God, no, there's Greenpeace lovers who don't give a shit about climate. They just need about their money. But whatever. Cares, man. What's the level of CO2 in the entire fucking atmosphere? Oh, it's 0.003%. And how many humans are contributing 0.01% of that 0.03%? Yes, class CO2 freedom. CO2 freedom. It's not about freaking climate change. It's about control. They want to control you. And God, they love that cultural. And what was the cultural fight in the 2000s? 2004, 2008? Oh, yes, that's right. Minority groups. And what happen? And LGBTQT and plus and whatever the heck you want to be. Well, those people have gotten themselves to a point of political, exactly, just like a climate change. I bet a lot of people watched about LGBTQ somewhere, someone in high school, college, whatever it is, just because they needed to, because they need to be graded. And teachers got to put on themselves to what to do. Oh yeah, to grade the students, to brainwash them, to educate them. What it is? No, just another pseudoscience bullshit. Oh God, that's it, man. And what's going on? Continue the same process. I bet there's a lot of schools out there still brainwashing those kids, poor kids, about letting them know what the real world is. Hey, you're a teacher, for God's sake. You probably haven't seen the real world in the last 40 years because you've been teaching kids and actually doing anything. I don't know. I don't want to say this, but I'm saying private sector. But regardless, or trying to establish something, teachers are a very noble career. I agree. Teaching is a great career. But let's not kid ourselves. A lot of teachers, mediocrity, and mediocrity teach our kids. And if you go to private school, congratulations, you get a higher mediocrity, because fuck, man, imagine you have to sell yourself out so you can do nothing in life easy and just get the paycheck so you can teach kids. Therefore, it's a calling. So, of course, there's going to be 0.1% or 0.2% of great teachers who actually love what they do. And I got to get a lot of hate for this. But trust me, guys. Trust me, that schooling is over. But ChatGPT is going to take you over. All that schooling that you've had in the freaking, it's going to be done. Not done. The teachers are going to be replaced so quickly. There's going to be it's not going to be school. It's going to be babysitting our ass. Isn't California shutting down like 9 school districts because they can't afford them anymore, because they need to pay for the, Migration, right? So this right. So education is not really important. With again, because it's all political agenda of the whoever is in charge. And again, Board of Education, which by the way was established, is irrelevant even was established because it's a product of 1897. Industrialization required kids to be in the factories. It's a freaking box machine. I remember that "Don't Leave the Kids Alone" by Pink Floyd. Yes, that beautiful song. It's exactly what it is. It's a manufacturing factory to produce and dull you out, because to make you think like a group thing, because you need to be a group thing, because fuck for sake, you're going to have to have another Plato, another Elon Musk, who got no else, because you need people in the boxes. That's what we need. We need people who don't care to think for themselves. We need people who basically follow orders, instructions, because you need to be graded on stupid shit like essay. Fuck, man, what was the last time you got graded on an essay at a job? What was your job that required you an essay to be tested on? Are you a writer, fucking journalist? No, so what the fuck are we being graded for all this time? Oh, you got a math test? Oh, I'm sorry, you made a couple questions wrong, so your IQ must be pretty stupid, right? No, I don't think so. Last time I checked, barely people uses any math. So except engineers and computer sciences, maybe even. Also, we all got to build planes and stuff. Oh, of course, we all got to build planes. But for some reason, only 0.02% of engineers actually get to do this. So maybe it needs to be specialized and not to be punished by kids who doesn't have the need to for freaking mathematics because he wants to be an actor, for Christ's sake. Oh, so everybody needs to be an actor now. No, I don't think so. But that's not even the point. The point is education that we've developed in the 1900s, whatever, for SAT scores to basically determine how much of an IQ you have is somehow basically generalization for your college degree. But then they basically try to undermine the whole concept because apparently it's all fluidity and it's all not based on merit, but it's all based on some, your social background. How much of a privilege and social destructions you have in your life. Well, yes, that's wonderful. So basically, again, what's the point of mathematics? It's basically colonization of Wokeness, telling you what's 2 + 2 is actually not even 4. So where are we at? No, so yes, so exactly. So it's a society that we basically allows you to have the centralized system of control one way or another through the centralized government or educational system or education cultural phenomena is basically infiltrated by the people who doesn't like what they want. So and they're the yell, oh yes, and they're the obviously the loudest because the concept of the internet came around and we noticed the phenomenon of 0-1%ers, basically the loudest, screamers, obnoxious, the most annoying people on the planet Earth, the yellow loudest. So they basically have to force corporations, people, and people of reason to shut them up, and by basically leaning into their obnoxious, idiotic, obscene, lunatic, assignment dependent ideas, man. What is this? The world is run by crazies, and the crazies basically feeding the other crazies, and the crazies wonder why the crazies are even crazier than they are. And then, of course, we get stuff like Joker 2. Anyways, the point is, this is the society that they're all trying to create, and then they wonder why the fucking monetary surviving this, because this created a system of subscription. That's right. Not even the consumer. You're basically a subscriber. You subscribe, you follow. You're just another number to their system. They are you're no longer relevant. Your individuality is not relevant because there are thousands of millions of you out there subscribing, consuming the same products that you basically think you should, but that you shouldn't actually consume that. But at the same time, the time is on because it's a pendulum. Pendulum of life is basically what it is, left and right. That's what they call it, right? Pendulum goes left and right. It's the extremities of it. Now, the problem is it's like we never heard in the history of Roman Empire and the like continue to do the same thing. The amnesia of the human species is so fucking massive. For fuck's sake, man, I should be going now, but we're going to continue this. We're back to 1983. All right, 1983. The magic number. The magic. I forgot my gloves. All right, go listen to my music. Enjoy it. I hope you like it. I do like it. Do you like it? All right, what was I? Oh, yes. And now another news. Oh, yes. Asmongold just got banned. Beautiful. Amazing. I was wondering when that was going to happen, actually, because the guy was pushing the boundaries so well. His opinions were good, you know. He's not incorrect in almost everything he says. Whatever he said was still his opinion, was actually what's not to like. At the end of the day, what's the point of having opinions if everybody likes them? And, you know, but it is what it is. You know, Twitch banned him. I wonder when he's going to get on Twitch. I'm really curious what he's going to say. I mean, he already apologized, and it's funny coming out of him. And he's like, oh, I'm just not going to apologize. Don't apologize. Well, it looks like he apologized shit. I mean, I wonder if he's talked to some representatives out there. He's like, no, do mass apologies now. Oh boy. But anyhow, so we're gonna try to play video games, of course. Obviously, I'm whatever. Yes. Anyways, DrDisarray. So guys, I hope you continue to do the regimens of the doctors. So number one, you must obviously exercise. If you don't exercise now, why? Are you exercise tomorrow? Yeah, I'll tell you this: how to properly think about exercising. Exercising is hygiene, and basically, it's really simple form. Because of the plastic that's surrounding us, you have to exercise to extreme measures. Why? Because you have to get rid of the plastic. Because plastic dissolves in a heat temperature. Basically, one way or another, you have to raise your temperature, heart rate to 180, and blah, blah, if you can. So basically, exercising 35 minutes, 40 minutes in a day, every other day, whatever, maybe just to get your heart pumping, it's essential. It's a form of hygiene. You don't really need to wash yourself. Just do the exercising in a cardio-related manner. It's basically just like you do taking a shower. If you don't take a shower like this, then you should start doing it. Consider it your shower. All right, and let's go. So what else we can talk about? Health. Oh, yes, your doctor's here. And yes, so do other people take vitamin vitamins? I mean, fuck, your liver is probably having so much fun processing all these minerals. I mean, artificial products. Do you know how much of the fake products you're consuming? I bet the more consuming the pills you actually increase in consumption of the pills, you're probably damaging your liver, you're damaging your organs slowly. You're creating a long-term damage to yourself. Of course, you could be lucky that you don't have bad products, but fuck, man, you're taking a chance with every pill. Why would you want to do that? You do have to consider the probabilities of all the pills. We find natural sources of them, find them. That is the best way. And if you can't find them, then probably you should look for them. And it's just, if you're going to do it, listen to your body. It's the best option. Know the reactions, know the effects. This is the way. This is the way. All right. So moving back 1983, back 1993, 2003. All right, 2003. Basically, we just had the Diablo 2 release, and that was the most amazing video game in all times. I think it was a bestseller of the time, beat by Diablo 3 at the time. Later on, regardless, Diablo 2 at that time, and which is and brings out the cultural phenomena of people who play Diablo 2. They were in not non-YouTube era. That's right. In the YouTube era, effectively culturally changed because of Web 2.0. Effectively changed the entire cultural phenomena, and at the same time, it created the beginning of the censorship of the internet. Isn't that fascinating? Basically, the video content that we now started posting on YouTube instead of just texting messaging, which was protected by freedom of speech, not because of the video and the graphical, it's one thing to say nudity in order to see it, and pornographic images could not be posted on YouTube at some point, right? So therefore, we have now censorship of the content, and the content continued. Censorship continued, even worse, continued to say until Elon Musk bought X, and we're still fighting that freedom of speech, and we'll have to see if we're going to retain it with the Trump actually winning, if he is actually going to win. But that's not going to talk about into that. We have to continue to talk about the cultural phenomena, video gaming. That's right. Anyways, I think it's enough. Yes, in that matter, guys, gentlemen, everyone, I will see you next round of the DrDisarray. I hope you stay channel, subscribe. We're going to have more fun talking about this fun, and we're going to get to the common topics, of course, because I still have a giant thing list I want to cover. Man, I'm trying to speak quickly, slowly. I'm probably going to slow down this video because, goddamn, I got a lot to say, and I just wanted to get it out of my hand. And great, I just want to say head. Anyhow, I'll see you around. Doctor. Out.